So good morning, my name is Danye. It's so lovely for you guys to be here. I'm excited.
Welcome back to Fitness Empowerment by Danye, a brand dedicated to flexible nutrition, macronutrient tracking, and a lifestyle without unhealthy extremes.
I don't know, you saw my flyer, I suppose? Okay, so I know I got some email responses from you explaining a little bit about your background and what your interest in nutrition is and kind of what some of your goals are. But what is it about this that maybe you're looking forward to as far as nutrition goes?
I guess something I haven't heard, something new, or something I forgot about.
Okay.
So yeah.
Okay, awesome. So I'll just jump right into it then. So yeah, my name is Danye. I do bikini bodybuilding, and I'm not going to talk to you about bodybuilding, but a big part of bodybuilding or any big sport is the nutrition aspect. And so for me, I started off in March of 2015 as a bodybuilder, just with a coach that was training me, giving me coaching on not just the fitness, but on the nutrition aspect. And when I first started, I was with a coach that really promoted clean, healthy eating. So have you guys heard of that before, like clean eating, where you just pretty much cut out, all the processed foods, all the junk foods, or anything that's considered not healthy or not nutritious. So I was on 6 meals a day that were the same darn thing every single day. Let me tell you, it worked. Chicken and broccoli, it works. Tilapia and asparagus, it works. But it makes you pretty miserable if you eat it every single day, right? Have y'all done anything like that before, where you're on a very strict regimen?
Nope.
I mean, I did a little bit of that, but I guess I changed up, like vegetables, maybe.
Yeah.
But basically, either fish or chicken or green beans or spinach. So,
Okay.
But yeah,
Okay.
I see what you mean.
And did you feel like you were restricted with that?
Not really.
No? Oh, that's good. Not everybody does. I did.
Yeah, but as I also cheat a little bit because I would have to put a little seasoning.
Oh yeah, honestly, I'm a
stuff.
huge promoter of sodium and seasoning and putting
Yeah.
salt on your food and things like that. But that wasn't the plan with this clean eating diet. And so I had, 5 to 6 meals a day that were the same thing every day. And about every 2 months, it changed a little bit. So for the first probably 5-6 months, we did what was called a bulking phase, where we were introducing lots of new foods, but it was higher amounts kind of every couple of weeks. That way I could build some muscle mass. But again, all the same types of foods every single day got very monotonous, and it's hard to stick to something that you don't particularly enjoy. For me, I don't like seafood, which is really weird because I grew up in Mandeville, so it's everywhere. Are y'all familiar with where Mandeville is compared to
Further
here?
down.
Yeah, it's on the North Shore, so like right across the lake from like Metairie and New Orleans.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so I grew up around it. I just don't like it, but it just became this part of the lifestyle that I wasn't enjoying because it was too restrictive. I didn't have enough variety. And then when it came time for my once a week cheat meal, which was really, really great, and I always looked forward to it, after a couple months it became cheat hours and then a cheat afternoon, and then it became a cheat day, and it became almost a binging habit. And so I know a lot of people, especially my clients that I work with, they restrict themselves with whatever fad diet is kind of new and on the rise, whether that be some sort of a cleanse, like a juice cleanse, or paleo, or something that maybe Whole30, where it really just takes out an entire food group and really restricts you. They do great and they lose weight, but then the second they meet that goal, or they lose the weight that they want to lose, they binge and they go back to what they were doing before, and they think, oh, well, I made it to this healthy point in my life, I can go back to doing what I was doing before. And they usually gain all their weight back. So the kind of moral of that little story there is that if it's something that's super restrictive and it's not something that you can maintain for a long-term lifestyle, it's not going to work for you. So if you enjoy eating lots of clean foods all the time and you don't feel like you're restricted enough to where you want to just binge and go eat a whole bunch of crazy stuff like cheesecake from the Cheesecake Factory that's like 800 or 900 calories a slice, which I totally did several times, then it's just not the lifestyle for you. So transitioning, after that first season, I realized that was not for me. I couldn't do it long term, and I wanted something that I was going to feel happy and healthy with all the time. So I started watching a lot of YouTube videos and seeing people that made progress, but when it seemed like they were just eating whatever they wanted. And I was like, I want that. I want to be able to eat whatever I want and still make gains, right? And so I started doing more research and found out that it was called flexible dieting. Now, I know you saw my questionnaire and I asked if you had heard of flexible dieting. You said you had not, correct? Have you ever heard of flexible dieting?
I'll just say no.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, that's fine, that's fine. Flexible dieting is essentially taking calorie counting to the next level. It makes calorie counting a little bit more specific. So things like Weight Watchers take calorie counting and make it more simple, and they use a point-based system. Have you heard of how Weight Watchers works? No.
I counted and counted calories, but I don't know all the details.
Okay, yeah, so it simplifies things. What we need to do for most people to meet their goals is not simplify it, but make it more specific. So flexible dieting is where you track your macronutrients, and you learn what's in the food that you eat by understanding which macronutrients is in those foods. So using an app, something like MyFitnessPal, My Macros Plus, anything like that, you can even handwrite it if you're kind of old-fashioned and like to write things down. I know I still like to handwrite my calendars and stuff, but technology is great, so when you can use an app, it really does help. But I was introduced to flexible dieting, and I said, you know what, I want to do this. So I searched, found a coach that was going to train me in how to properly do flexible dieting, because it's easy to just tell somebody, go track your macronutrients, and you'll be fine. It doesn't work that way. You have to track your macronutrients and find out about over a period of 1 or 2 weeks what your baseline is. And when I say baseline, it means what you're currently intaking on an average daily basis. So how many grams of protein are you taking in? How many grams of fat are you taking in? How many grams of carbs are you taking in? It does vary day to day, but you want to figure out an average. It's kind of like MapQuest. You have to find your starting point and an ending point in order to strategize a good plan to get from point A to point B. So the first step with flexible dieting is finding out where your point A is and what you're currently taking in. The next step for flexible dieting is there's lots of scientific equations out there. There's lots of calculators online that will tell you scientifically, based on your height, your weight, your age, and your daily energy expenditure, how many calories you should be taking in every day, just for your particular person. The problem with that is it doesn't take into account what you're currently doing. So for example, if I put into the calculator all of my information, it will pop out and say that I should be eating about 2,200 calories a day. Currently, I'm only eating about 1,900 calories a day because I'm in the process of increasing my food, because you get really low on calories in a show prep. But also, I found that that's very similar to most people that I work with, is they start tracking what they eat, and they're eating well below what they should be eating according to scientific standards. So the problem with those calculators is that it's not tailored to you. It's not tailored to what your current needs are. And so if you go in there and say, oh, well, I need to lose weight, this is my goal, it's going to pop out something that may be 500 calories over what you're currently eating. And so if you go in and say you're currently eating 1,800 calories, and to lose weight, the calculator tells you you should be eating 2,200 calories because your standard for somebody your height, weight, age, and daily energy expenditure is 2,600 calories, you're going to gain weight instead of losing it because you're eating more than what you thought you were going to eat. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Have y'all ever tracked any calories or anything before? Any experience with that?
I'm not consistent. I've tried, but
Yeah.
it's not consistent, yeah.
Why do you feel like you
Disciplined.
weren't? Okay, so
You know,
maybe the
to continue
accountability
it.
factor?
Yeah.
Yeah. What app did you use?
Something like My Plate or something. It's like
MyPlate.gov maybe?
something like that.
Okay.
Or maybe it was like through Livestrong. It was something that was like accompanied with through that or something like that. I can't remember, but it was that. And then I was trying to write it down. But I would look up stuff, but I'm just not disciplined, and I just didn't keep it up.
Yeah.
So like a food journal never really worked for me either. I write stuff down and be like, whoa, I ate a lot today, and then I would like quit.
Yeah, so if you don't understand how it all works, or you don't have somebody explaining it to you, it can be discouraging because you're not seeing the results because you don't understand how to work it properly. So I totally understand how that goes. Because I did, when I first started, I was trying to track it on my own, and I was trying to maintain this ideal physique that I had before, and it just wasn't working for me. So I had to get a coach and be like, this is what you gotta do. And so learned a lot since then. So it's been a couple of years. But let's see, where did I trail off here? Okay, so it's essentially calorie counting, but it's macronutrient tracking. So kind of brings me to the hierarchy of nutrition that I want to go over with you guys. So basically calories in versus calories out. determines your body weight. You've probably heard that before, right? Like your energy in versus energy out will determine how much you're gonna weigh. So when it comes to nutrition, the most important thing is calories in and your body weight. So we'll put calories at the very bottom here. So if you're dying, if you're starving and you just need food, the most important thing is just get some type of calories in. It doesn't matter what the calories are, just get them in. That's what your body needs first and foremost. But calories only determine body weight. And I find that most people are looking for a particular body composition. They're looking to, get a little bit leaner, get a little bit more toned, which essentially is building muscle and losing fat. So that brings us to the next part, is that most diets are focused on taking out calories, but they're not specific in what type of calories you take out. That's why I'm not a huge fan of Weight Watchers, because it's a point system, and all calories are not created equal, similar to all the points are not created equal. So they kind of associate a certain number of points to different types of foods, and you get a certain number of points per day. But to me, it just doesn't make sense, because all calories are not created equal. So say you're eating 1,500 calories a day and I'm eating 1,500 calories per day. If I have a high fat, high carb, low protein diet, and you have a high protein, moderate carb, low fat diet, we're going to have very different body compositions. The high protein diet is for the most part going to have a lot leaner body mass composition and a lot lower fat mass composition. High fat, high carb, low protein is probably going to be a lot more fat mass versus protein mass, or versus lean muscle mass. So calories in versus calories out, definitely the most important thing. But then when we want to get more specific, when we find that we're plateauing in different dieting phases and we're looking for a better lifestyle, that's when we need to go to macronutrients. Am I spelling this right? I hope so. Macronutrients, yep, okay. Sorry, my handwriting's bad. So I mentioned it earlier, but do y'all know what the different macronutrients are? So your macronutrients are your fats, your carbs, and your proteins. So every item of food is going to have some sort of calorie associated to it. Then the calories break down into fats, carbs, and proteins. And then alcohol as well is a separate macronutrient, but for today we'll just focus on the three main ones. So your macronutrients, your fats, your carbs, and your proteins. And then I also fit fiber into here as well. So again, calories are not all created equal. So when you look at different types of foods, say a banana. I know from tracking that a banana is going to be mostly carbohydrates, and it's going to be mostly sugar carbs. Most fruit is sugar carbs. If I want to have something like a potato, that's going to be a starchy carb. If I want to have something like lean protein, that's going to be something like chicken, or maybe a lean type of steak. If I want some fats, I'm going to go for some nuts or for some oil. Hi, come on in.
Hey.
Good workout?
Yeah, don't let me interrupt you.
Okay, awesome. We're just talking about the hierarchy of nutrition here. So quick recap, the most important thing you need for your body is calories, but then when you want to get more specific and focus less on body weight and more on body composition, you have to focus on your macronutrients, which are your fats, your carbs, and your protein. And that's really where flexible dieting comes in, is you have, once you figure out your baseline and your goal, a certain amount of macronutrients that you have to eat every single day. So I have a macronutrient budget that I use every day. So I have a specific amount of fats, a specific amount of carbs, and a specific amount of protein that I hit every day. And that changes week to week just depending on the goals. Once you find a level of maintenance, then you can continue using that same number of macronutrients every day. So fats, carbs, proteins, and then fiber. There's no current research to show that you need a specific amount of sugar or starchy carbs, but there is research to show that you should intake a specific amount of fiber and have a fiber goal. For most adults, it's about 14 grams per 1,000 calories that you intake daily. So I find for most females, it's somewhere between 20 and 25 grams of fiber, and then for males, 30 to 35, maybe 40 if you have a really high calorie diet. So macronutrients, fats, carbs, protein. Fat, 1 gram of fat is worth 9 calories. 1 gram of carbs and 1 gram of protein, they're each worth 4 calories. So by seeing that, you'll know that fat has a lot more calories in it. It's a lot more calorie dense than carbs or protein. So that's where you have to be careful as far as when you look at a nutrition label and you see something has 10 grams of fat maybe 5 grams of carbs and 10 grams of protein, you think, oh, well, that's a good amount of fat and protein. Well, you're actually getting a lot more fat calories than you are protein calories, and it is a very low carb item. So if you take the numbers and the grams that you see on nutrition labels and you multiply fat by 9 or carbs and protein by 4, that'll tell you how many fat calories, protein calories, or carbohydrate calories you're getting from each particular item. Does that make sense? Okay, feel free to stop me and slow me down. I know I talk fast. So macronutrients, fats, carbs, proteins, and then that fiber goal. So as long as you hit your fiber goal within your macronutrient budget, the rest of your carbohydrate calories can go to starches or sugars. All right? So the third level of this nutrition hierarchy is micronutrients. Who can tell me what micronutrients are? You dated a dietitian, right?
I did,
Yeah.
but that didn't mean I know what it means.
Okay, so your micronutrients are going to be your vitamins, your minerals, and then water, all right? So micronutrients are extremely important, and a lot of times when people refer to eating healthy foods or eating clean foods, these are foods that are more micronutrient dense, so they're going to have a lot more nutritional value than dirty foods or unclean foods or unhealthy foods or junk foods. So say when you have a donut, this is like one of the most commonly used kind of analogies, is people are like, oh, you think that you can just flexible diet and fit a donut into your daily, eating habits and make the same gains as if you had some chicken breast and broccoli and a sweet potato. Nobody's gonna argue, well, nobody that is intelligent enough on how flexible dieting is supposed to work is going to argue that a donut is the same as the chicken and the broccoli and the sweet potato, because they may have the same macronutrient grams, but the micronutrients are what make the huge difference. So when you are flexible dieting, if you have that macronutrient budget and you can fit the donut in there, that's fine if that meets your goals. Now, if you want more micronutrient dense foods, then you're not going to want the donut. Does that make sense? So you're able to fit these fun things into your daily budget, but if you notice that it kind of self-balances. So if you have a donut or two and you only have 50 grams of fat for the day, you're going to run out of fat really quickly. And then if you want to stick to the rest of your budget for the day, you're going to have to find foods that have almost little to no fat in them. And then they're going to have a higher carb and a higher protein content. So that is that. But yeah, so micronutrients, vitamins, minerals, so how do I put this? When people want you to eat lots of lean, green vegetables, green leafy vegetables, we got that one backwards, green leafy vegetables, those are very low calorie, but they're very micronutrient dense. They're very nutrient dense foods. They're going to keep you full a lot longer, and they're going to give your body a lot more of the nutrition that it needs to function. So the most important thing, calories, then your macronutrients, but then your body really does need the micronutrients. And a lot of people have to take lots of extra multivitamins and different types of supplements because they're not getting the micronutrients that they need. So that's where micronutrients come into play. Now the next tier is going to be, I don't even know if I can fit this on here, it's frequency of eating and meal timing. Frequency. Meal timing. How many times a day do you eat?
It depends. I've got a lot of medicines I got to take, and that kind of rules the day as far as when I eat.
Okay.
Sometimes twice, sometimes 3.
Okay.
That's about it.
How many times a day do you eat?
Typically 3 times a day.
3 times. Snacks in between?
Usually, yeah.
Yeah.
But
And for you?
About 4.
About 4.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I used to eat about 6. Now I eat about 4 times. I have some snacks in between. There used to be a lot of research showing that it was really good to eat 6 smaller meals a day, going to keep your metabolism going all day long. Now we've kind of found out that that's not the case. And so for me, and for what I explain to my clients, is I want you to do what works best for you. I want you to do what is going to be most consistent for you all the time. So if you have a macronutrient budget, if you're flexible dieting, I don't care if you have 1 meal a day or 6 meals a day. I want you to do what you can be consistent on, with the caveat that if you are training intensely, I do believe that you get more energy when you focus meals surrounding your workouts. Carbohydrates are what we fuel on best for workouts. And so I highly encourage people to have carbohydrates pre-workout and then a protein source post-workout to make sure that they're getting the most bang for their buck. So other than surrounding your exercise and your workouts with meals, I don't usually care when my clients have the rest of their food, because we just don't always have the kind of time to make sure that we have the same exact regimen every single day. A lot of people are on the go, a lot of people work from home, a lot of people just don't have time to meal plan for a week at a time and really take that time and be like, oh, I gotta eat every 3 hours. Like, it's just not realistic. And that's why I love flexible dieting, is because it's realistic, because it's different for everybody and it allows you to work on your own schedule. So frequency of meal timing, it's important, but it's not the most important thing. So 4th most important thing. And then the top tier is going to be supplements. How many of you take supplements right now? What kind of supplements are you taking?
I take a multi, I take C, I take calcium. Upon occasion, I take magnesium,
Okay.
E, B12.
Okay, so those would actually be in the category of micronutrients.
Right.
So your vitamins and your minerals. So when I say supplements, I mean things like pre-workout or a fat burner or like creatine to help you maintain and get a better pump while you're in the gym. Do you take those as well? Okay. What do you take?
Pre-workout.
Pre-workout.
And then protein after,
Okay.
and the multivitamin and CLA.
Okay. Gotcha. So yeah, I would say multivitamin would fall under the micronutrient category, unless it's something that has a lot of sugar in it. You know, I take the gummy multivitamins right now, so they got some extra sugar in there. I gotta track those. But yeah, with the CLA, I would put up here as well. So anything that is going to give you that little bit extra to enhance your performance, but it's not going to do the work for you. And that's where I think a lot of people make a mistake when they think, this is my number one thing. Like, if I'm not making progress, clearly I need to add some supplements into my diet. I need a pre-workout, I need a post-workout, I need an intra-workout, I need a fat burner, I need this and that. Not the case. You can make all the gains you need to by focusing right here. This is just extra. So in the hierarchy of nutrition, this is the least important thing that you need to worry about. This is when you have a goal, you have something really specific that you're trying to meet, and you're doing everything else that you can down here first, and it's just, you just need a little bit of extra nudge to make sure that you really reach your goal on time. So while these are great, and I won't give any advice on specifically what you should or shouldn't be taking, I'm not a registered dietitian, but I'm a sports nutrition specialist, so I can give you information on different types of supplements and what they do for your body, but I'll never tell you exactly like you should or shouldn't be taking that. That's something that you should definitely bring up to your doctor, physician, registered dietitian if you have a specific question about that. But if you feel that you're cleared to take these and you have no issues with them, I would just make sure that you focus on all of these things before you worry about the supplements. So if you feel like you're not meeting your nutrition goals or your gains in the gym, instead of jumping to a supplement, I would take a look at, hey, am I getting enough calories to actually fuel my day and my workouts? Am I hitting my macronutrient goals? Do you even know what your macronutrient goals are? Am I getting enough micronutrients in? Am I getting enough fruits and vegetables that have those vitamins and the minerals? Am I drinking enough water? I find that most people don't drink enough water. Granted, if you're in the gym, you're probably drinking more than most people, which is great, so I highly encourage you to keep doing that. And then look at your frequency of meal timing. If you're only eating one meal a day, is that fueling you enough? Are you getting enough calories in? Can you eat a 2,000 calorie meal that's gonna fuel you for 24 hours? I probably couldn't, but you know, to each their own. So that is the main breakdown of nutrition as far as what is updated and most recent and most important for you to focus on. So I guess kind of in conclusion for the generics of flexible dieting is it's flexible. That's what it is. It's a lifestyle. It's not a diet. I really enjoy referring to it as flexible nutrition and not necessarily flexible dieting, because it is something that you can do forever. It's not something that you have to do forever, but again, I find that once you learn and understand what's in the foods that you're eating and you know how to manipulate the amounts of foods that you're eating, then you don't have to track every day. But I would definitely encourage you to track for at least a couple months to get an idea of what you are eating and how you can manipulate those to figure out how much you should be eating for the long haul. But for me, and for a lot of folks, like, talk about holidays. I don't track on holidays. Like, I want to just enjoy the food and enjoy the time with family. But I don't consider that being off track. I just make the decision to enjoy that time, and then I jump right back into tracking the next day. So it affords you that flexibility. It affords you, you know, the extra time. Like, if I need to run into a gas station and grab some food because I'm on the go and I didn't have time to meal prep for an entire week, I can do that. And it allows me to be able to go out to eat and not have to avoid being around friends and family. And I can go out to walk-ons and I can check the menu and say, hey, I want a burger today. Let's see if that fits into my macronutrient budget. And sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. If it doesn't, then I'll go ahead and ask them, hey, can you just do me a piece of grilled chicken and give me a side of broccoli? Usually they can be very accommodating. So it's a lifestyle, and that's what I want to bring to the table for you guys, is that if you've been on a bunch of restrictive diets, or you've tried implementing healthy, clean eating and just completely cutting out junk and it doesn't work because then you crave those things, I'm here to tell you that you don't have to completely cut them out. You may have to learn a little bit more portion control, but you shouldn't have to cut them out because that's only going to create a negative habit. That makes sense? Awesome. What questions do you guys have about this or about flexible dieting? Because I know I like to go off on a lot of tangents, so I want to make sure that I can answer any questions for you. I know you jumped in a little bit late.
Yeah, no.
What do you feel like you missed?
On calories, does it still hold that if you, before aerobic exercise, you drink a cup of coffee, it'll help you burn calories?
Haven't seen any research on that. I mean, coffee is caffeine, so if you...
Well, I understand that part of it,
well, yeah.
but that's what I was told.
If you're a caffeine addict and you drink coffee every day, multiple times a day,
I
then
drink
it's
once a
probably
day.
not going to do much for you.
This comes from the lady I dated. She was also my aerobics teacher.
Gotcha.
And she had a cup of coffee before class. Said, yeah, it'll help you burn calories.
It's going to help you get your heart rate up and therefore help you to move more and then burn more calories. But it's not going, I mean, one cup of coffee is not going to just help you burn more calories, but it's going to have a similar effect as a pre-workout might have. Because not all pre-workouts, but many pre-workouts have caffeine in there. So it's up here in this category. It's going to give you the slightest little bit extra, energy to perform better in your workout. It's enhancing your performance, but it's not necessarily just burning more calories.
Right.
So, yeah, and I think you may have missed just a little bit on these is your calories in versus calories out, or energy in versus energy expenditure. This determines your body weight. But when you go more specific and you focus on the fats, the carbs, and the proteins, that's going to determine your body composition. So if you're trying to lose weight in maybe a stomach area or put on more muscle, and you just don't like the shape that your body's in, then instead of counting calories, you're going to want to count macronutrients. Now, if you're happy at your goal weight and you just want to maintain and you don't want to focus up here, then focusing on calorie tracking is fine. But if you're looking to make something a little bit more specific and understand and learn more about what you eat and why the foods that you eat affect you the way that you do, you need to shift your focus up here to the macronutrient goals. So, in general, most folks need, if they're on just a normal, no specific dietary changes, most folks need about 1 gram per pound of body weight in protein per day. So if I was going to help you figure out what your macronutrient goals should be, it would be about 1 gram per pound of body weight is the protein. So we would figure out your protein first. Then fats, generally you want somewhere between 20 and 35% of your total calories to come from fats. So we would figure out what your total calories are and then divide by 9 to get the amount of fat grams that you would want to eat per day. And then the rest of your calories would go to carbohydrates. So you want to focus on your protein, then figure out your fats, and then go to carbohydrates. And here I'll just do a little example here. Anybody want to be a guinea pig? Me.
I'm curious on how much for me, because I've never calculated it. I just knew I needed to, just never have.
Yeah,
Because
sure.
we're going to do the macronutrients, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay.
So how much do you currently weigh?
So currently, I'm just going 180.
Okay. So if weight is 180,
Mhm.
now this is gonna be just generic for what you should be eating. This
Right.
is not to say that if you're not
This is-
eating like this right now, that you should jump to that, because
Right.
that could be potentially disastrous for you. So if you're currently weighing 180 pounds, then you should go and aim for somewhere between 0.8 and 1.1 grams per pound of body weight. So 1 gram per pound of body weight. So you would want to eat 180 grams of protein. Now, we're just going to throw this out there and say 2,000 calorie diet, because we've got to have a number to start with. So let's just say that that formula spits out that you should be eating 2,000 calories a day. So if I know I need to eat 180 grams of protein, then I'm going to multiply this by 4. Anybody got a calculator? 32.
720.
Yeah, look at that. You were faster than me, but I got this. Okay, so if we multiply by 4, because 1 gram of protein is worth 4 calories, that's going to give us 720 calories that we want to intake of protein per day. Now, again, back to 2,000 calories, we want to figure out fat calories and fat grams next. So we'll just shoot for, again, a middle number. We'll go with, we want 25% of our calories to come from fat calories. That would be 25% of 2,000, 500. So 25%, 500 calories. To figure out the grams, we're not going to divide by 9 to give us the grams of fat that we want to eat per day. Mathematician.
56.
That's good. All right. So we're going to try to aim for 56 grams of fat per day. Now to figure out the carbs, we're going to take 2,000 and we're going to subtract the 500 calories from fat. So that's going to give us 1,500, and then we're going to subtract the 720 to give us the remaining calories.
780.
780? Awesome. All right, so we have 780 calories total remaining, and we're trying to figure out carbs. So that's 780 carbohydrate calories that we want to eat. How do I figure out how many calories or how many grams of carbs that is?
Divide by something.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Same thing. I just don't know what to divide by.
So you got 2 options. Is it 4 or is it 9?
4.
Yep, it's 4. So 1 gram of carbs is worth 4 calories, 1 gram of protein is worth 4 calories, and 1 gram of fat is worth 9 calories. So we're going to divide this by 4.
165.
Gosh, you're good. 165. All right, so that gives us our macronutrient budget. We're going to
You better make that 185.
185. Okay.
Oops.
You're gonna have me under the limit.
Just an example. Okay, so now we know that your macronutrient budget to maintain at 2,000 calories would be 180 grams of protein, 56 grams of fat, and 185 grams of carbs.
That's a lot. But I mean, it adds up, but.
It does,
Wow.
and
That's a lot.
so that's the generic. And when you're trying to lose weight, honestly, you would want to increase maybe to the higher end at 1.1 or 1.2 grams per pound of body weight, because you're trying to maintain the lean muscle mass that you have while losing weight and while burning off calories. So you want to try to burn as much fat calories as possible, as many fat calories as possible, and the least amount of lean muscle mass as possible. Now, if you're trying to gain weight, so in my current position, I'm doing what's called reverse dieting. So it's flexible dieting, but I'm trying to increase my calories each week in the proper proportions of macronutrients. My current protein intake is it's closer to that 0.8. So it's a little bit lower than that 1 gram per pound of body weight, because I want the extra carbohydrate calories to help me gain muscle while I'm working out.
So you say 180 grams of protein is a lot.
It is, you're
I
right.
mean, that's a lot.
I know, and a lot of previous research, like 5 to 10 years ago, And even, you'll still hear it today that most people only need between 50 and 60 grams of protein per day. I know, have you seen What the Health? It's a documentary, it's a vegan documentary that just came out on Netflix. They will say in there that you only need 50 to 60 grams of protein per day. So this is flexible dieting, and this type of lifestyle is very common in the bodybuilding world. So they're big on high protein diets, but it works. I've seen it work in every lifestyle client that I've had, and in my American Council on Exercise training, they do say between 0.8 and 1.1 grams per pound of body weight is what is recommended.
Yeah, I used to be in the restaurant business, and Lou Ferrigno and Arnold Schwarzenegger came in every once in a while. You ate me out of house and home.
Yeah.
Man, 3 chicken breasts at a time.
Yeah.
Salad bar, man, just
Yep. Yeah,
woofing
it's a
it
lot.
in.
Yeah, and it's personal preference as well. And when you're on something like a vegan or vegetarian diet where you are more restrictive and you don't have all those animal type proteins, you're probably going to have to eat a higher amount of carbohydrates to reach a higher amount of protein. But it is personal preference. There are people who make a lot of gains that don't have as high a protein diet. Maybe they have about 80 grams of protein per day. So it is personal preference, but I do find that when I slowly increase my clients' protein content, say they come to me and they're only eating about 60 grams of protein per day, every week we'll increase by about 5 to 10 grams of protein as long as they're consistent. So it's not like we'll jump from eating 60 grams of protein a day to all of a sudden now you need to eat 180 grams of protein per day, because that's not sustainable, that's not realistic, and it's really overwhelming for somebody. So if we slowly work on the manipulation of those macronutrients week to week, it's a much better outcome for them, and they don't feel that shock of, oh my gosh, I'm making this huge change. No, it's small, tiny changes over time. So if you immediately go in, say you're only eating 1,500 calories right now. If you immediately went to eating 2,000 calories a day, you're gonna gain a lot of weight, and it's gonna be pretty quick. So if you wanted to get up to 2,000 calories a day, we would find a way to add in 50 calories a week, probably like 5 to 10 grams of protein or 5 grams of carbs at a time. Slowly but surely, as long as we're making sure that we stay consistent. So, does anybody else want to figure out what they should be eating? No, it does take a lot more time to do it individually to really figure out where your baseline is, what your goals are. So it is very specific to each person. So there's no meal plan that goes out. You know, I do help people with figuring out like, what do you like to eat and how can we manipulate those portion sizes so that you can still eat what you enjoy, but make sure you're getting more of the macronutrients. I'm pointing to my triangle, it's no longer here. So it's very specific, but it works for everybody if you stick to it, because it's your lifestyle and you're still eating what you want. So I'll never tell somebody that they can't have something. You know, even alcohol, like, it's not for everybody, but a lot of people like have a few drinks a week and they enjoy going out and having a drink socially, and they don't want to cut that out of their lifestyle, and I completely understand that. Alcohol is a different beast. It's its own macronutrient, like I mentioned earlier. It's actually 7 calories per gram, to throw another number in there for you.
It's instant calories, isn't it?
What?
Alcohol's like instant calories.
Instant?
You know, it's boom,
Oh.
bam.
Yeah, so if you actually try to calculate alcohol properly, a lot of times you'll see on those nutrition labels, or if they even have a nutrition label, that it gives you a lot of calories and then like 3 or 4 grams of carbs. Your body treats alcohol like a combination of carbohydrates and fats. So when I have people track it, they track it as either carbohydrate calories or fat calories. That way it properly factors into macronutrients, and you don't just feel like you're drinking empty calories. A couple of drinks a day, it's not going to hurt you, but if you do have very specific goals in the gym, then you also have to realize that having those drinks, is not going to give you the best source of energy to get through your day, to get through your workout. Now there are like some small health benefits to having, you know, a glass of wine. They've got some antioxidants in it. Same goes for beer. It's got wheat in it for the most part, unless you're drinking something like a cider that's gluten-free. But there are very small health benefits to having 1 or 2 drinks every now and then. So I don't like to tell people that they can't have any unless they're on like some sort of bodybuilding or a wedding, you know, diet, and they want to really, really hone in on that specific goal. That's the only point in time I would recommend that they taper off of it, because they're just going to get more bang for their buck out of the more nutrient-dense foods. But yeah, that's another perk to the lifestyle, is if you enjoy things like that, you can have them. You enjoy going out and having ice cream or pizza, you can have them. I know you said you like pizza. I do too. Pizza is my favorite food. Have you heard of melon mushroom? Melon mushroom pizza?
Oh, yeah, I've been there.
I worked at one in college for 3 years, so it's highly my favorite type of food. I think Frank's is probably my favorite pizza place here. So I would never recommend that you cut pizza out, because everything in moderation is good for you. If going and having a slice or two of pizza one night is gonna keep you more on track in the long term, instead of binging on a whole pizza after you deprived yourself of it for a month or two at a time, I mean, what's the better option? You know, it's better for you in your long-term lifestyle to go have that slice of pizza or to go have that donut, because you're going to satisfy your craving and then you're going to get back on track and move on with your life and continue being healthier in the long term. Make sense? Sound good? Yeah, it is good. Awesome. Well, I'm not going to take up too much more of your time. This really sums it up. I have another pyramid I can go over. It's a hierarchy of fat loss if you're interested. But if this is, I know this is probably a lot to take in if you haven't heard any of this before, so we could save that for another time if you guys want.
I'm fine with seeing the fat loss pyramid.
Okay.
Got to.
There's only 4 tiers to this one instead of 5, so it's a little bit more simple.
You were talking about pizza, and I'm totally down like 98% of Papa John's pizza last night. It was so good.
Oh,
And then I ate the other 3 pieces this morning. I was like,
I don't know if you could fit that into your budget. You could probably fit a slice or two, maybe not the whole pie.
Right.
But I also, there's...
When you ask for the square cut, the pieces don't look as big, so you're like,
Kanye, I'm gonna bug out.
Oh, of course.
It is Kanye, right?
What?
How do you pronounce it, Kanye? Your name?
Danny?
Danny.
Okay,
Oh.
yeah, that's what it is.
It's okay, I do respond. You can call me Danye if you want. I do respond to that. So.
Okay, thank you.
So nice to meet you.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Okay, so we've got 4 tiers for the hierarchy of fat loss. So again, this gets us a little bit more specific, because nutrition is pretty generic. Nutrition is just like, what does your body need? Now, if your goal is fat loss, the scale is a little bit different. What do you think, throw out some ideas, what do you think might go on the bottom tier?
Are we talking like specific foods or like specific categories of foods? Or
Nope, so this is not specific to food. This is
Okay.
in general. What is the most important thing you need to focus on when it comes to fat loss?
burning.
Well, yes. Okay. But yes, but no.
Okay.
Yes, when you want to achieve fat loss, you do have to find a way to burn fat. But that's not here.
Okay.
Eat less fat.
Eat less fat? No. But it's a good thought. A lot of folks think that if you eat less fat, you're going to lose weight. It really doesn't come down to the fat quite as much. Really, when you're trying to gain or lose weight, it's more important to focus on carbs. And not sugar carbs, carbs in general, your overall carbs.
So you're talking about like saturated fats? Never mind, keep going.
Yeah, so, and there's lots of debate on saturated versus
Okay.
unsaturated fats as well. Again, when you're talking about macronutrients, it's more important to just focus on fat in general, carbs in general, protein in general, and not so much on, well, is it the right kind of fat? That is important, but that gets more specific. So that's like more on the same tier as like the micronutrients. But no, so the most important thing when it comes to fat loss is nutrition.
Oh, well, we overthought that one.
Yeah, it's okay. Well, you underthought and then you overthought, because you said fat loss in general and then more specific. So yes, the most important thing it comes down to when you're focusing on, achieving fat loss is going to be nutrition. So we've already been over that whole scale, so we're not going to touch too much on that. What do you think might be the next important thing?
Exercise.
Yes and no. So yes, however, resistance training.
Okay.
So can one of y'all give me the definition of resistance training? Weight training, yes. So many people come in here and they just want to jump on the treadmill, and they'll do it for hours at a time. And I just will sit in that office, or I'll walk back and forth and just cringe inside because I'm like, oh, it's not gonna get you to your goal, but they don't want to hear it from me, so I'll just go about my day. But resistance training. So the thing with resistance training is that if you want to lose weight, and most people, they want to get toned. I already said that tone means building up muscle and losing fat. So if you want to lose that fat, you want to get your heart rate up higher, and that's not gonna happen if you are just walking or jogging on the treadmill. It's gonna happen if you're doing speed and interval training or resistance training or progressive overload. So when you're lifting weights, you'll find that if you see people out there lifting really heavy weights, they have to take 1 to 2 minutes of rest time in between their sets because their heart rate is up so high, and they want to bring it back down so that they are more composed for their next set, so that they have that energy level back. But you want to get your heart rate up. So the higher up you get if you're sitting right here, you're burning more fat calories than carbohydrate calories, but the amount of total calories you're burning is extremely low. The higher up your heart rate gets, the more carbohydrate calories and the less fat calories you're burning, but the total amount of calories you're burning is way up here. So overall, you're gonna burn more fat and carbohydrate calories when you get your heart rate up versus just walking on the treadmill. So people will mistake that thinking, oh, I'm burning more fat calories. Yes, percentage-wise, but total number-wise, you're not if you're just doing some sort of steady state cardio. So, and with building up the muscle, if you're not doing any resistance training and putting that strain on your muscle and causing the muscle breakdown so that there's muscle buildup, you're not going to get that gorgeous tone that you're looking for. I'm sorry, you may not want gorgeous tone, but you may want buffness. I don't know. Terrible wording. Okay, so resistance training. So focus on nutrition, and then resistance training. What do you think comes into play here? I'll tell you. It's going to be sleep
Oh, yeah.
and stress. So when I have clients that are stressed out, their weight will shoot up. Not by like 10 pounds, but maybe by 2 or 3 pounds. And they'll say, oh my gosh, I'm bloated, I just don't know what's going on. I'm like, okay, well, let's take things down a notch, just take a deep breath. I feel like every week I have to tell them to take a deep breath because that is so important. We'll talk about their nutrition. If everything is on point with their nutrition, they're following their macronutrient goals to a T, then I say, okay, let's focus on your exercise. Like, tell me about your workouts. Are you pushing yourself in the gym? Like, are you even making it to your workouts? Where is your consistency and adherence to your workout schedule? If everything is on point with both of these, then I'll say, okay, how much are you sleeping? Are you actually getting good sleep? Do you have a Fitbit? Are you monitoring this at all? Like, if you're only getting 3 or 4 hours of sleep a night, your body is stressed out. You need more rest. Why are you stressed out? Let's get to the root of the problem. Is it something going on at work? Is it something going on at home? Like, do you have too much going on in your day? Do we need to cut some things out? Is it stressing you out to try to get your workouts in or to try to get your nutrition in? Like, we get to the root of the problem. Maybe try to do some meditation techniques, try to add in maybe some aromatherapy, go get a massage, find a way to figure out why sleep and stress are an issue and then how to bring that back down. Which then, if this is all on point, what's the next step?
Your positive outlook.
That's great, but that's not at the top. Honestly, that's probably mindset needs to come before all of this. So mindset, 3 big things that I'll focus on with my clients, like overarching kind of pillars. Mindset, strategy, accountability. If those 3 things are not on point, then we can't even focus on this. But at the top here is what most people consider the bottom. Cardio. The dreaded cardio. So if all of this is on point and we're not stressed out, we're sleeping well, we're doing all this stuff right, then we'll start adding in cardio. But that is my last measure to focus on. And then if none of that works, then I'm probably going to recommend that you go see a doctor because there might be something internal that I cannot address for you that is outside of my scope of practice, which does happen occasionally, which is why it's good to have a doctor on call on hand, just, your yearly annual checkups and stuff like that. But really, cardio will come into play. I like including cardio just in general, just like maybe a couple times a week, because it is important to focus on your cardiovascular health. I'll never tell you that cardio is bad. I don't love cardio. I would prefer to just weightlift, but cardio has its purposes. But when it comes to fat loss, I don't want to start a client off by doing 4 or 5 days a week at 45 minutes a day of cardio. Is it gonna work? Probably, but when you hit a plateau, where are you gonna go from there? How much more time do you have in your day to add in more cardio? Do you have more time? I mean, this is a problem that I see with folks that are super overweight or bodybuilders that are like trying to just lose that last bit of fat. If they're doing 2 hours of cardio a day and they're not making any more gains in the gym, and they're not losing any more weight because their body is just maxed out. They're starving themselves and they're doing excess cardio. So their energy input versus output is, there's so little input that they can't maximize their output. And so that's when we get into, let's recheck our goals and rethink our strategy, because we might need to kind of work backwards a little bit in order to go forwards. So that's our hierarchy of fat loss, to keep it simple. What questions do you guys have? What's been most helpful for you so far?
I actually found running helps me lose more fat. 204 and 210 weight-wise, and of course I'm trying to eat Subway instead of
You mentioned.
Sonic or Burger King or something like that.
So you eat a lot of fast food. That's what you said.
Yeah, I'm usually out and about instead of home, so.
So Subway is still considered fast food, honestly.
Yeah, I know.
And while it has some healthier options, a lot of that food is, especially their protein, it's just very processed. So it's not going to have the micronutrients in that meat that you might get from grabbing raw chicken breast at the grocery store. Just because it is very highly processed and it's going to have a lot more sodium in it. It's not bad for you, but it's not as nutrient dense as maybe some other options might be.
Right, and that's what I need to learn, is what are the options that I should be choosing instead of what I am choosing, I guess.
Well, and it sounds like you might need to figure out what you're currently doing too. Like, you know what you're doing, but you don't know necessarily what's in the foods that you're eating.
Right, yeah.
What kind of workouts are you doing in the gym?
Mostly weight training. I mean, you mean specific exercises? Or
Yeah, just give me a rundown of what kind of weight training you're doing.
Just bench press, curls, a lot of the machines, back. I'm really trying to do full body workouts.
Okay.
Of course, I'm not doing abdominal as much as I probably should be to get rid of belly fat. That's my least favorite thing.
So let's touch on that real quickly. What do you feel like is going to help you get abs or lose the belly fat? Do you feel like that's doing ab work?
It seems like ab work might, but I feel like running for me would be helpful, because I know in the past several months I lost the most weight when I was running. Of course, maybe I wasn't eating as much. I don't know.
Yeah, so I would say that we should come to nutrition first before we worry about the rest of this.
Yeah, okay.
And then once we get that on point, I would want to really taper into, like, you know, not just what exercises are you doing, but are you actually pushing yourself? Or are you just kind of doing the same weight every time you come in?
I'm probably not pushing myself really, really hard, but I'm pretty close to, average or above average as far as pushing myself.
Okay. And, we'd have to, like, really take a look at the numbers,
Sure.
Get more specific.
You might look
with
at it and say, oh, no, you're not pushing yourself at all.
Yeah, so, and you feel like your sleep and your stress levels are pretty good?
I don't know about stress isn't so bad, but I don't get that much sleep.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so, that could be something that you maybe talk to a doctor about. Like for me, I'll take some over-the-counter, take melatonin and GABA, so gamma-aminobutyric acid. You can get that at GNC. It's essentially extra amino acids that help you maintain a deeper sleep, but it doesn't like knock you out, and you can wake up in the middle of the night if you need to go do something, and you'll be just fine. So there's a lot of different sleep aids out there that maybe you can look into. I'm not going to tell you to take a specific one, but if that seems to be an area of your life that you struggle with, then I would focus on that. But if nothing here was changing and all you did was add in cardio, then yes, I can see why you would see that change in weight. But you'll see more You'll optimize everything more if you focus on these areas before you add in cardio. Now, if you just love cardio, keep it in. If that's something that you maintain adherence to, keep it in.
Yeah, I'm not big on it.
You're not big on it. Then I would say let's focus on that last, and let's come back to here and focus on the things that you literally have to do to survive every day. Like, you have to eat to survive, right?
Right.
So we would focus on this first, and pretty sure you would be able to cut out majority of cardio by focusing back on nutrition.
Yeah, and I prefer beef over chicken or anything else.
Okay.
And I think beef is one of the most fattening meats. Is that true?
It depends.
Or unless you get lean beef, I guess.
You can get lean ground beef, for sure. I mean, you can get like 96, 97, 98%, maybe even 99% lean ground beef. So it's going to come down to looking at nutrition labels and tracking properly. You know,
Right,
when you
for
go out
sure.
to eat at a restaurant, your burger's probably going to be 80-20 or 75-25. Like, that's going to be a lot higher fat content because they want to give you a tasty product.
Sure.
But when you cook at home, maybe you can use some lower fat ground beef. But if you don't like chicken, don't eat chicken. You know, I mean, there might come a point in time where if you just don't eat a specific food group, you're going to need some sort of vitamin mineral type supplement because you're missing out on something essential. But that would be something to talk to a registered dietitian or a physician about. But like for me, if I don't eat steak for a long enough period of time, I'll start craving it because I'm getting iron deficient. So there's things that you just might find that, like, if you don't, say you didn't like steak, you might want to take an iron supplement, something like that. Yeah. What's been the most helpful for you?
For in the class,
Mhm.
this class, I would say the calculation of my macronutrients, because I was told about it years ago.
Yeah.
But they told me it goes like a cut. I just hadn't calculated it yet,
Mm-hmm.
and so yeah, to finally get a calculation, yeah,
Awesome.
most helpful part.
Awesome. And if you want to sit down one-on-one to, you know, really figure out how to use a specific app and things like that, I can do that for you. Just let me know.
Okay.
Yeah, because that obviously, it was an example. I would say
Right.
the protein is accurate, but without knowing how many calories you're currently taking in
Mhm.
and what your goal is, the amount of fat and carbohydrate calories would be a little bit different. But at least in general, this might tell you that you need to up your protein content.
Right. Which makes sense. For like, I know a lot of guys do all the protein shakes and protein bars, and now I understand why there's like 30 grams of protein or 20 grams of protein. 'Cause
Yeah.
So that even if you do like a protein shake that has 25, like in the morning and then one at night, well, that's already 50.
Mm-hmm.
Then if your 3 meals include a chicken or a fish or whatever with that protein, so I can see like it could probably add up much quicker than it seems.
Mm-hmm.
But I would definitely need some help with a protein shake. Something that has like a lot in there at once. So,
Yeah, for sure.
I get it now.
Yeah, there's tons of options out there, and like for me, if I'm gonna have a bunch of eggs, I'll usually have one whole egg and then 4 or 5 egg whites because I want to increase my protein content, but I don't want to add too much fat in there.
Right.
So for me personally, right now, I'm eating about 130 grams of protein per day, 240 grams of carbohydrates, and 50 grams of fat. So that's my current macronutrient budget. So as long as I fit things within that, I'm good to go, and it changes week to week.
Mhm.
Yeah. Anything else? What else has been helpful for you?
Yeah, just knowing the nutrition can help you over cardio would be,
Yeah.
it's interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it makes a huge difference.
It's just a matter of knowing what foods have what kind of breakdown,
Mhm.
carbs, fat, protein.
Yeah,
That's what I would really like to know,
yeah. And
to
the
be able to
easiest-
count them, because I don't have a lot of time to sit down and look up stuff.
And that's why the
Keep
apps
track
are
of it,
helpful,
yeah.
because you can just scan a nutrition label barcode, or you can search for it. I mean, MyFitnessPal is so good these days that there's like a location to search for restaurants, and it'll pop up with the different menu items and listings, and it'll have the macronutrients listed. And it's not foolproof. Sometimes you'll get an item in there because people can add in their own items that only have calories, or they'll be missing a certain macronutrient. So you have to double check these things. But I mean, if you want Chick-fil-A, if you want Subway, if you want Burger King, like those things are in there. So I would say probably the first step for you would be start tracking. And if you have questions about tracking, come talk to me.
Okay.
Yeah. So what do you feel like you can take away and go implement today?
For me, it would be back to like the calculations, like the protein. So because that's something that I know won't change, because I don't think my weight's changed. I haven't weighed myself in a couple of weeks, but that's something I know I can like fix today.
Okay,
So
awesome.
yeah, because I just started back
Okay.
exercising again, but I saw what I could do like 4 years ago.
Be empowered to make a change in your life and take the next step on your health and fitness journey.